Hi everyone, I'm David Fisher, and this is Presidential Chronicles, a series of books and videos on American history as seen through the lives of the presidents of the United States. This episode is from the life of Franklin Pierce, and the focus is Oh, to be like Dad. The two most significant influences in the life of Franklin Pierce were the Constitution of the United States and his father, Benjamin Pierce. Benjamin Pierce was his hero in so many different ways, and he was a hero from a military standpoint, volunteering right on the heels of Lexington and Concord, those skirmishes that started the Revolutionary War. He put down his farm implements, clothes on his back, showed up and volunteered for the Colonial Army. It wasn't even the full Continental Army yet when he was fighting in Breed's Hill and the Siege of Boston, went on to continue the victory at Fort Ticonderoga and the travails of Valley Forge, eventually settling in at West Point for the duration of the war, but he was a member of that army from beginning to end of the Revolution. Afterwards, settled down in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, had about 50 acres of land, a new bride named Elizabeth, but Elizabeth didn't survive. She died in childbirth, and so it was Benjamin Pierce remarrying about a year and a half later to Anna Kendrick. And she brought 8 children into the world. The number 6 was a boy, born November 23rd, 1804, and they named him Franklin. Franklin Pierce's father was his hero, not just the military exploits, so many other things. He was a leader in his community, he had his farm, and he also had a tavern. And Franklin loved to hang out in the tavern at the tables, listening to the conversation, the exploits from the Revolutionary War, and also the political debates. More prominent were the Federalists in this region, but that wasn't his father's thinking. He was a Jeffersonian Republican, and that's where Franklin tended to lean. He enjoyed learning and listening and being part of this revelry occurring in the tavern that his father owned. His father also was called to serve 13 years in the state legislature in New Hampshire, ending up as the governor for a couple of terms. Franklin Pierce aspired to be his father across all of these areas. Military glory, political ascendancy, the leadership in the community. This is what Franklin Pierce wanted to be. And he was a natural leader himself. He had a winning personality. He was athletic and popular, a little bit of a rebellious streak. In fact, one case, he was caught with some friends pilfering some melons from a neighbor. And he did, in the mode of a George Washington and the cutting down the cherry tree mythical fable that Mason Weems gave us, he owned it. He told the truth. He told the man who caught him, "I did it, sir, and I'm ready to take the consequences. The others were my guests, and on me rests the responsibility of the whole affair." People naturally gravitated to Franklin Pierce and his leadership qualities. He was well off as a youth, well educated, both at home, boarding schools, and eventually it was time to go to college. And his older brother had gone to Dartmouth, the pride of the state, but his father thought that the folks in Dartmouth and the professors there were leaning a little bit too much to the Federalist side from a political ideology, and said, "That's not for my next son, Franklin. We're going to send him a little further east," and he enrolled at Bowdoin College in Maine, the newest state in the Union. 20 individuals, one of them was Franklin, in the class beginning in September of 1820. Now, Franklin Pierce now is on his own really for the first time. A little bit hard to control. He was focused more on the fun and the sports than he was on the academics, and kind of bristled under a lot of the rules that were being imposed at Bowdoin College. Perhaps the best description we have of Pierce in college comes from his lifelong friend and classmate, the future literary great Nathaniel Hawthorne. Hawthorne described Pierce as a natural leader. He was then a youth, with the boy and man in him, vivacious, mirthful, slender, of a fair complexion, with light hair that had a curl in it. His bright and cheerful aspect made a kind of sunshine, both as regarded its radiance and its warmth, insomuch that no shyness of disposition in his associates could well resist its influence. The two had plenty of leisure time together. They became close friends. In fact, that friendship they enjoyed their entire lives, and they enjoyed their life at Bowdoin. Academics, not so much. After the first 2 years enrolled at Bowdoin, Franklin Pierce was last in his class, but it was a wake-up call. He decided to change his ways, dedicated to the effort, ended up finishing in the top 5. After graduation, Franklin Pierce began the study of law, had several prominent tutors to help him through this before heading to a law school in Northampton, Massachusetts under Judge Samuel Howe. Best part of this for Franklin Pierce was the trip over there. He did it along with his father, which he celebrated in a letter to his sister Elizabeth, in which he said, "The first part of my journey to this place, you may well suppose, was exceedingly pleasant, having the company of a father to whose observations I have always listened with pleasure, and whose counsels I ought to preserve as the choicest treasure." He completed his legal studies at Amherst in 1827 after leaving Northampton, passed the bar, and By the way, de Amherst began a relationship with Jane Appleton. She was a shy, well-educated, extremely pious young woman. They started that relationship that would certainly persist over time. Franklin Pierce set up his law office across the street from the family household in Hillsborough. Politics was calling for him as well. His father is now the governor of New Hampshire, and at the age of 23, young Franklin got a job of his own, an important one, town moderator. This put him in charge of running the principal local political activity, the town meeting. He was good at it, they liked him, kept him in that job for 6 years. He also got involved in his first national campaign, campaigning in New Hampshire for his father's choice, his own choice, Andrew Jackson, for the presidency in 1828. And then he got elected to his first real political office beyond the community, representing now at the state level. A member of the lower house of the state legislature came in the following year, and it met only about once a month, but it was still a prominent position and important responsibility, and he sure enjoyed showing up alongside his father, the governor, with his own rightful spot in the state assembly. Of course, this was all just the beginning of the politics for Franklin Pierce. It was the end for his father. Benjamin Pierce retired from politics when he left the governorship in 1830, but Franklin Pierce was just coming into his own, leading to more stories for another day. That is Franklin Pierce, an ode to be like Dad, from the life of Franklin Pierce. For more presidential chronicles, check out my books on Amazon.com, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, I'm David Fisher, and this is Presidential Chronicles.